A lot has changed for me over the last couple of years as I've transitioned from full-time W-2 employee to full-time self-employed entrepreneur. And being a full-time real estate investor / content creator is a dream come true, but admittedly, my work-life balance has not been ideal. A lot of people have been curious about this aspect of my life for quite some time, and I just didn't really know how to make a video about it because, there's no system here. It's all just crazy stuff floating around in the ether. But finally, I've decided to come clean about some of the struggles I'm having and some of the systems I'm putting in place and habits that I'm trying to form to manage my schedule better. All right, so let's get into the first point here, and that is that when you're an entrepreneur, you really don't get to work just Monday through Friday. That's been very tough for me. Saturday and Sunday, I don't know, it's not necessarily just a work thing, but from a content perspective, stats in the YouTube studio that tells me how many views I get, and Instagram, that's all just stuff that I'm always checking. And so even if I'm not working, if I happen to get on Instagram and I see something that's pertinent to my work, it does eat up a little bit of my mental capacity and takes away energy from my weekends. It's very easy to justify working on the weekends because there's this mindset shift that changes when you're a W-2 to self-employed. When you're W-2, you're like, there's stability here, I get paid no matter what, I don't have to work on the weekends. And so you have a little bit more flexibility in that capacity where you're not necessarily worrying about job security if you have a good rapport with your team and you're invaluable to the company. However, when you're self-employed, there's this shift that happens where you convince yourself, which is justifiable, that when I don't work, I don't make money. And that is really the biggest struggle as an entrepreneur because you don't have a company to fall back on that's gonna provide you a constant check every 2 weeks. And so for me, that's where I'm at, where I make money, but all the money that I make, whether it be passive or active or however you want to classify it, won't come in without my time and effort to make it passive or to work for it on the active side of things. So it's really tough to not work every single day, but one of the systems that I've just committed to, that I just tell myself now, is Monday through Friday. That's my work schedule. And really the only time this was untrue was in our former Robuilt days where me and Caleb were like scrambling to basically get content out on Monday. And I feel like we're pretty good about this now, right? We don't work so much on the weekends, but when I do work on the weekends, it's typically reviewing and edit, getting notes to Caleb, and then Caleb will then go and fix the video and make me look beautiful like I do right now. This weekend is an exception because we just shot like 9 videos this week, and so obviously we can't be editing videos if he's shooting my beautiful face every single day. For the most part, Monday through Friday is sort of like, not my hard fast rule, but pretty close. We're getting closer to where Saturdays and Sundays, I am dead to the world. Caleb, you're only allowed to text me about Riverdale updates on the weekends. Now that actually is a very boring tip, so that's not really the tip or the system that I've formulated. That's just something I'm actively working on. Right now, I take no meetings on Fridays. I will not take a meeting on Friday. This is not true for tomorrow specifically because it's a shoot week, and so I didn't get to work all week on my actual day-to-day stuff. I was shooting content all week. But on most weeks, I will not take a meeting on a Friday, and really, I'm working towards not taking meetings on Mondays and Fridays because what happens is, if you're in back-to-back meetings every single day, then when do you actually get to work and execute on the things that you're meeting about? And that's a really big problem, not just in the corporate world, but as an entrepreneur, because everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to talk to you about your different companies, ideas, updates, product launches, and everything like that. And so it's actually very tough to work and execute. So for me, my big goal for the next couple of months is to have my Mondays and Fridays to myself so that I can actually execute and catch up. All right, let's move on here to tip number 2, which is a bonus. I just thought of this, but it's trying to get out more, which we're gonna do now because work-life balance isn't just about what happens from 9 to 5, but it is, I think in my mind, a little bit more of the mental side of things and how you feel. Being behind that desk right there, that is actually a really good representation of, actually no, it's not. This is inaccurate because this is cleaner than usual, but getting outside just makes me feel better and makes me happier because yeah, sitting behind this desk alone for 40 hours a week, it can be tough on the old dome. So I try to get out even in Houston, Texas, where it's hot and it's sweaty, just so I can feel alive again. I don't care how much we're about to sweat. Sorry to Caleb because he's the one that's actually carrying the camera. All right, let's go. Third thing that I'm actively trying to work on to improve work-life balance that has not been something I've been good at, but it is actually maintaining a 9 to 5 job. And so this is a very common misconception when you quit your 9 to 5 job. It's so demonized, and admittedly, like I do that too on the channel too, where I'm like, quit your job, be a full-time entrepreneur. But because the concept of working a 9 to 5 for an employer is so demonized or looked down upon from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it makes you feel like you're crawling back to your employer in some capacity. And so because of that, there was this big fight that I had with myself that I just couldn't work a 9 to 5 schedule because if I was gonna do that, then why did I quit my job? And like, oh, I'm just conforming to corporate if I do that. I actually respect the 9 to 5 schedule a lot more these days because really when I quit, it was like I woke up and just until midnight, like sporadically I would work and then I would go and hang out with the family. That wasn't working. It hasn't worked really at any point. It's just how it goes with who I am and all the different businesses that I run and everything like that. And so me and my wife have talked this out because we're really just trying to figure out what is the healthiest way to maintain a family family dynamic where I can be in the home. And so at first it was like, okay, I'm gonna go start work at 11, hang out with the family on the first part of the day, be done at 6:30. And I did this probably for like the last 6 months, but it really hasn't been working for a lot of capacities, because when I start at 11, I already feel like I've lost half the day, even if I did hang out with my family. When I end at 6:30, I just, I don't know, there's this pressure because I'm started late and there's all this stuff, and I don't get to have dinner with the family. Uh-oh, Caleb says the lighting is that great, so we're gonna have to move here. Oh, huh? Is this gonna work, papas? Okay, cool. Yeah, anyways, I don't get to have dinner with my family at that time, and I come in and I'm just really there with my kids for about an hour, hour and a half before they have to go down for bed. Just not really working out, so we really hashed it out, and I said that I'm committing to starting at 9 and being done at 5 on most days, right? This isn't a hard, fast rule, because obviously on weeks like this where I shoot 11 videos, we are basically on all day, every day until late. So it's not a failure if I can't do it, but the habit is 9 to 5, and anything after 5 can wait. And you know what? It's true. Every time that I finish my day at 5 and I feel like there's 50 things I need to do, guess what? The world doesn't burn down, like things aren't going crazy, like emails get unanswered, whatever, but my actual life and my finances have been very unaffected. So it's all a common misconception. Build a schedule, stick to it. It doesn't have to be 9 to 5. Maybe for you it's 12 to 8. If that's what you need, then do that. But if you got a family, don't recommend. Okay, so it's just actually kind of uncomfortable, so let's keep it moving. You know the whole outside thing I was talking about? Let's do that. All right, work-life balance, right? There's 2 components of it. We just talked about work. There's a few more things I'll talk about work here, but life is actually just equally important. And I just told you about the scheduling part of hanging out with my family. Here's a really hard part about being just a family man and a working man, right? Is that when you are working, you feel guilty when you're with your family. When you are with your family, you kind of feel guilty that you're not working. So it's a very difficult catch-22. The really difficult part about this is that because you work so much, you feel like any time that you have that's left over has to be with your family, or else you're a bad dad, bad husband. Obviously, this is all mostly self-sabotage and brought on to myself. Like I'm the one that's like perpetuating this misconception or this guilt in my head. But what's equally important outside of hanging out with my family is hanging away from my family, which is like a crazy concept that I've really trying to wrestle with like the past couple months, because I just want to be with them, but I also need to be my own person too. And so I have made it such a priority to have a day, at least one day out of the week, where I am just with friends or with myself, where I can just decompress without the pressures of family, without the pressures of work. And I can just hang out with friends and joke around and goof off and just do whatever. Or, you know, I go to the movies by myself. Movies are one thing that I've just really missed since the beginning of the pandemic, and I had kids, and now we don't go to the movies, and it's just, oh man, cinema, I miss it. I have no shame going to the movies by myself or eating at a restaurant by myself, because really, I don't even bring my AirPods with me anymore. I literally just sit in silence. Back in the day when I used to drive and commute, most of the time on the way to work, I would listen to the podcast. On the way home, I would listen to nothing. And because I don't drive anymore, I don't really ever have that time to just listen to nothing. And so yeah, me time, you know, it's just, I gotta date myself every so often. Anyways though, I do have a dedicated day every single week where I hang out with friends on a Wednesday night. To be honest, sometimes I don't wanna do it because I'm so tired, and I'm like, no, I force myself to do it because I know that by the end of the night, I will never regret doing it. And that it's been true 100% of the times. I'm like, man, I wish I could just stay in tonight. But then afterwards, I get home at like midnight, I'm like, whew, I feel like a new man. I'm an extrovert at heart, but the pandemic has sort of forced me to be an introvert. And so, I don't know, I'm trying to metamorphosize myself back into extroversion. I don't know if any of those are words, but guaranteed some of them are. Anyway, social life away from your family, as much as it makes me feel guilty to say it, it's very important. And luckily, my wife is very supportive of it, and I support her in the same thing. I'm always like, get out of the house, go hang out by yourself. Why don't you get out? Number 5, I've actually made it a habit to put my phone in do not disturb, and I found out that people did this like not too long ago, and I was like, that's so weird. You just live your life with no one texting you or no notifications, or, oh man. He was like, look dude, look at my phone, and he clicked in and it says, while you were gone, you got 19 notifications. He's like, that's 19 times I would have had to look at my phone. And he's like, and I don't have to do that. I could just do that as I please. I don't have to give my time to other people. And I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And so I actually did do that. So I was like, I'm gonna try to do that. And man, it is crazy. It genuinely is so crazy. And the realization that text messages and emails and Instagram messages, they command my time. It entitles people to my time, but notifications make me feel like I have to give into it, but I really don't. And I didn't realize that until I put my phone on do not disturb, and I got like 25 notifications over the course of an hour. And I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is definitely cutting down productivity. So now, basically, I have my phone on do not disturb, and then, let's see, I just turned it on maybe 5 minutes ago, and I got 8 notifications in 5 minutes. Extrapolate that. How many sets of 5 are there in 60? 12. What's 12 times 8? 96 notifications an hour. That's how much of my time I gave to other people without considering how detrimental it is to my family life, my work life, my productivity. So now, you don't hear from me, I'm sorry. It's because it's on do not disturb, and the only 2 gatekeepers, the only 2 people allowed into my phone are my wife and Caleb. Love you, buddy. All right, last tip, and I don't know how applicable this is because I don't know how big your business is and what your budget or what you can afford is, but for me, on my income, it's really silly how long I avoided hiring people. And I put so much time and effort both into content, also on like HostCamp, my short-term rental education company and mentorship program. And so I'm just like very spread thin, and there's this belief when you're an entrepreneur, very selfish and prideful belief that no one can do your job better than you. Thus, why hire them to do so? And that's kind of where I was with HostCamp. I mean, it's my program, it's my company. How could I possibly give that away to someone that doesn't understand the intricacies of the systems and all the different nuances of it? However, what I realized is that I had so many cool ideas for that company that I would immediately put on the back burner or just throw in the trash can because I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. The logistics involved with that would be absolutely crazy. I'm not worth it. And so I had all these cool ideas that I wanted for the program, but yeah, because of the logistical nightmare, I was like, we'll do it someday. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't live my life like this anymore, where I'm just so spread thin. So I decided to actually hire a COO, a Chief Operating Officer for HostCamp. And this is a very expensive six-figure decision for me because remember, right? Not only in my mind, no one can do the job better than me, but now I have to pay a lot of money to employ that person, which means that I make less money. But if you follow the channel, you know how valuable time is to me, and you probably have an idea of what I value my time on an hourly perspective.
$1 million.
So I just came to realize that the amount of time that I was putting into the admin work, the logistics, the marketing, in the long run, that was costing me 7 figures. So I decided to splurge. And so anyways, it's been about 2 weeks now, and it has been a life-changing decision. Truly a life-changing decision. I feel like I'm getting pieces of my life. I'm training them, right? So there's a lot of time that goes into training an executive level position in my company, but I can already feel the weight lifted off my shoulders. So as I teach my COO the inner workings of my company, he then says, hey, how can I make your life easier? How can I do this? How can I execute? And he's all doing that. And man, I have never felt this way since starting HostCamp ever. I've always been just insanely squished by pressure and tasks. And oh man, yeah, it feels so good. So that's a 6-figure decision that's worth it. Just recently, Caleb, my boy, right behind the camera here, got a promotion from now he's not just the editor of the channel now he's like the producer / manager of the channel. He works with all the brand sponsors and all the brand deals, and he's taken that part of the job as well. But I didn't really think that part of the job was that draining until Caleb started doing it. I was like, man, it's so great. I don't have to like email sponsors back and forth anymore. So thank you, pal. Thank you for being a manager. Again, an expensive decision, but well worth it. Buddy, you are worth the $300,000 per month I pay you.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Well worth the money to take that stress off me. And so yeah, between those 2 hires and other hires that I have coming down in the pipeline, so far, I think I have in the neighborhood of 13, 14, 15 people on my payroll. I was doing payroll for a long time, and I decided to ask one of my friends, hey, would you want to do this for me? Because he's like, I like running payroll for my company. I'm like, dude, what can I pay you to do this for me? He's like, oh. So now he does that. And oh man, just between hiring out and delegating my life away, I already feel like I'm getting that work-life balance exactly where I need it. And that's it. That is sort of what I've been going through and what I've been doing to mitigate having a crazy life. The crazy life of Robuilt is truly an insane, unique thing, but man, I love it. I just really need to continue working on these systems so that I can continue to love it and I can continue making content, because to be honest, content hasn't been the love that it was when I started. And it's not because I dislike making content, it's because I was so spread thin with all these different things. So between working a 9-to-5 schedule, not taking meetings on Mondays and Friday, turning on do not disturb, hiring people, going outside, I'm working on it. And I finally feel like I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So anyways, that's a look into my life. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you probably on the next episode of Robuilt, I hope. I mean, I don't know where else I'd catch you, but yeah, if you see me at the mall, I don't know, say what's up. All right, see you, bye.